friends, welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Today I'm really excited to share something with you, a foster care binder, Printables, that I have created. So keep watching. Alright guys, let's get right into it. So I sucked my first year of fostering. There was so much paperwork. I was not used to it. Everything was everywhere. I was so unorganized. I missed expenses because I was just that unorganized. So it was essential to me. We had to do a foster care review and they asked what your biggest weakness was, and that was my biggest weakness, was the foster care paperwork and keeping that all organized. So I have created this binder system that's worked really, really well for me. I had it more simple, but recently I've redone it to make it a little bit more pretty because it's so much easier to stay organized when something is visually appealing. So I wanted to create this for you guys because I know a lot of you are probably struggling with the same thing. So this is the foster care binder here. I just got a 1-inch binder from Walmart. I had a smaller one when I first started and it was way too small. So you need at least a 1-inch binder. I've taken out, I've put fresh papers and taken out, any pertinent information, but this is how I organize everything. So it just says information and forms right on the front, and it's pretty. So you can go to my website, subscribe, and it will get sent to you so you can download it, print it all off. And I just want to show you how I do it all. In the front I have this zipper folder. And in here I just keep any artwork, anything like that from the kids, pictures, anything of importance that I want to send with them. I just keep that all in the front of the binder. It's in one safe spot. Some people will do this in boxes. I've seen that system as well. I did that as well too, but then the kids would get into it. Whereas if I keep it all in the binder, I keep this binder up high because it's got important information in it. The kids don't get at it and don't want to open, see some of the artwork they did. And then it goes home with them. Also in this front little thing, I keep this USB stick. In here I will, as I take pictures, I'll add them on so that they can be sent home with the child. I'll also scan some of the bigger artwork that might not necessarily fit in here because, they don't necessarily need every little thing. So some of the artwork I'll just scan and I'll put it on here, and I store all of that on there. So pictures of the child and some of the things that they did while they were in our home, as well as their artwork. So that goes right in the front in this little binder here. So the first page of my binder is the foster care placement questionnaire, and I have this in a plastic sheet so I can just use a dry erase marker on it. It's not necessarily something that I need for every child. It's just I have it once, I put it in this plastic sheet, and hopefully you guys can see that okay. So I'll just read kind of what it says. It has about the child: name, gender, age, do they have siblings, are they in school or daycare, so children's worker, family worker, protection worker, and other, their info, medical conditions, they have allergies, medications, conditions, drug and alcohol exposure, important dates, court date and meetings, reason in care, date of apprehension, is this their first time in care, family and kin, mom, dad's names, other kin involved, sibling age and location of the siblings, behaviors, are they is there aggression or anger, are they emotionally sensitive, sleeping, are they toilet trained, interaction with others, impulse control, property destruction, and self-harm, and then a spot for the plan of care. So I created this because I feel like the more information you know about a child, the more educated you're going to be into being able to say yes or no to that child. And this hopefully will help to prevent placement breakdowns because you didn't have the information that you needed in order to make the best decision. And sometimes when you get that phone call, you're just like, they're like, oh, you have a 2-year-old with blue eyes, and you're just like, yes, bring her. But maybe that's not necessarily the best fit for your family. So finding out as much information as you can. The agency doesn't always have all of this information, but asking the questions probes them, because they'll kind of read you the basic of what is on their file, what they think is important in making a placement, but sometimes you just need more information. So I just keep that in there, and then I just have one that's always stays in this binder, and I just erase it with my little dry erase, and that works well for me, because when the child does come into your home, then I have the child info. So here you just have name, date of birth, age, grade, school, date of placement, their caseworker and their information, allergies, medical, health card, and insurance number, just a place to record that all. If you're making doctor's appointments and you need any of that information, it's all there. And then their birth parents' names and info. So that's the first page. Then I just have a page for notes. I just printed this off, but you can just use lined paper or whatever. Then I have a contact info page, and you can print off as many of these as you need. You're going to want to put all your workers, you'll have it their caseworker here, but you're going to want to put any other workers, the family worker, any other information on this form, doctors, therapists, anything that you need, any other people that are involved with this child and their contact information, you want to have it in one easy spot. Again, just another page for notes. After every section, I just have a little page for extra notes. So then we have monthly reports. So for us, for example, we have our children's worker comes to my house monthly. We have a meeting with him and we discuss all of these things. So this is just a guideline of things for me to jot down as I go through the month that I want to talk to the worker about at the next visit. I don't call my workers a lot unless it's urgent. They appreciate that. They're all overworked. Every worker in the foster care system, no matter if you're in the States or in Canada, they're overworked. They have too many cases. So I don't call them unless it's, you know, super important that I need to talk to them ASAP kind of thing. Everything else I just write down in this monthly report sheet. I know some agencies require, they actually have a form you have to fill out monthly and send it in. You don't necessarily have meetings. So however your agency does it, this is just a section where you can keep that information. So this is the monthly report thing that I fill out, and it has developmental changes, behavioral, medical, education, extracurricular programs, therapies, visits, and court. So I just write down any information that's pertinent to developmental. So for example, with our baby right now, I would write down, you know, on this day she rolled over, on this day she started smiling, so that I can give that information. The more information that these children have recorded about them, the more they have to take with them as they go, if they don't stay here forever. Behavioral, for example, with older children, you had a child that was biting, you know, you were able to stop it this month by doing this technique. I would record that. Medical, did they have any medical appointments this month or coming up? Do you have anything scheduled coming up? Education, anything pertaining to school, extracurricular programs and therapies. Is there anything you want to get them in because of what reason? So for example, our foster daughter who just left, we wanted her to be in gymnastics. So I recorded that on there, recorded the price, recorded the nights and the time so that I had all the information to present to the worker to get approved quickly for that. Visits, has mom been showing up? Mom and dad's been showing up? Has anything happened at the visits that you want to talk to about? For example, one of our kids, one time I really thought mom was high on drugs, and you know, if a parent is high, the worker's supposed to cancel the visit, but they might not necessarily be able to notice that. But just from my interactions with mom at this point, I thought she was under the influence of something. So I recorded that and, you know, let the worker know about that. And then court. This is more for the worker to give you information because you don't really have information about court. But you know, sometimes you know the dates and they have got so many kids. So sometimes I know from the last month's visit, the date, and I'll say, oh, is court still on this date? And, you know, and I'll just write that down there. And then again, a section for notes. Your next section is medical. So you can use the little binder dividers if you prefer, but I just like to keep them all page sectioner as my sectioner rather than using binder dividers, because then if I have any other paperwork, I can just slip it in the back of that plastic. So in here in medical, I have several of these paper or these plastic dividers. I'm not going to show you the front of this because I actually forgot to take this out, but this is actually from our baby. It's the neonatal intensive care unit, the NICU discharge information. So it has all of her information. This is all I got when I brought her home from the hospital. So this is all I had to present to the new pediatrician I was taking her to. So I keep that in here, and then I have a spot for medical info. So again, health card number, that's for us in Canada. I don't really know how it works for you guys, but I'm sure you have co-pays or different insurance. I'm sure there's a number that you need to record there. The family doctor, any other doctors they're seeing and their information. Intake medical, so I would record anything that was pertinent at the intake medical. For us, within 72 hours of the child coming into our home, we have to have a doctor's appointment for them. So for example, I would have just put for our baby, for example, I just wrote down her weight, her height, and you know, any other observations the doctor saw, I just recorded there. And then I have date, reason, report going down all the way. So for us, for the baby, for example, we have to take her regularly to the doctor. Maybe you have a child that has different medical needs and you have regular doctor's appointments. So date, reason, report, and all the way down. So you can print off as many of those as you need. And next in the medical section, I have medication info. So maybe a child comes to you already on medication. For us, we have separate paperwork that I have with my agency that I have to fill out anytime I give prescribed medication. But here I just have name, date, instructions, and date ended. So it's just a log for you to record that. You know, it's important, especially if they have any reactions. As much information as you have medically about this child that can then go on with them, the better, right? And then another just notes page. Then I have a court update section. So I have a court records, date, update, next date, reason, agency, and defense. I'll show you that there. So I would say, you know, the date of this court date, let's just use a random date, October 1st. The update was mom didn't have an answer to file with the court, dad didn't show up. Then I would put the next date was December 30th. And the reason for that was because mom didn't have an answer. There was nothing to really assess at court. What the agency said, so what the agency is asking for. So for example, the agency is asking for 6 months in care, and the defense is saying 6 months in care is not needed because, you know, mom has stable housing and this and that. So what's the agency standpoint and what's the defense's standpoint? So I just record that, and I keep one for each court date. So I can just kind of see the progression of how the case goes through the legal system. Next, I have the plan of care. So again, this might be different for your agency, but our agency is required the children's worker completes a plan of care from their end, and it gets mailed to us as the foster parents. So this is just a place, it's got extra plastic dividers in there that I keep the plans of care. Nothing I record, but it's just a place to keep it all, because you can send that on with the child, or if the child, you know, you can destroy that information, whatever. It's confidential information, that plan of care. So you want to make sure you have a safe spot to keep it all. Next, I have expenses. So for us, we actually don't really have many expenses. Before, when I first started fostering, we had $50 a month for clothes, and we had to put the receipt, what clothes we bought, why they needed them. We had special forms for that. Recently, our agency's made some changes where they just give us lump sums 3 times a year for clothing to cut down on paperwork, not only for the foster parents, but for the agency. But, you know, other expenses like, I just had one for our baby, for example. She has medical benefits, but when I went to give the medical benefits, they're like, oh, this card isn't activated yet. So I had to pay for it out of pocket, and then the agency reimbursed me. Same with medical. Like, I don't know how it works for you guys in the States, but we have health cards here, but we don't always get them right away. So sometimes I have to pay for that doctor's appointment out of pocket, and then the agency reimburses me. So just a spot to keep, and then a record tracker to write it all down. But if your agency has an expense report, you'll have your own report. So I didn't design one for you, but that would go in here. So next we have respite. So respite is other foster parents taking care of your child, whether you have to, you know, whether you get injured or you're leaving the country and you can't take the child with you, whatever it may be. So here I just have respite family, phone, email, address, their time frame of respite care, and the reason they were in care. So for example, when I went away for 4 days, I put our baby into respite care with a friend of mine who already knows her and had a relationship with her, and I highly suggest that you have some sort of relationship with the respite family, so it's not the child just going to another home just because it's not convenient for you or whatever. But for me, my husband already had his hands full with the other 3 kids and taking care of a newborn baby who cried all the time. It wasn't going to go well. So my friend, who I met through foster care support group, is now my licensed respite family. So I have her information written down, and then I just wrote she was in respite care for 4 days from this date to this date, and the reason was because I was going out of country and I couldn't bring the baby with me. Next we have the injury log. So again, every agency is going to be a little bit different. I just have a notes page here, so I just record what the injury was, why it happened or how it happened, and who I reported it to and the date that I reported it, so that if there's any allegations from the bio family later on, I can go back and say, no, little guy ran into a wall on this date because he was excited and he was running too fast, and I reported it to his worker Sally on, you know, June 25th, and she documented it. So we have to send immediately if any injury happens. We have to take a picture and send it in and report what happens. I did have an allegation with our second foster child where I actually had an investigation opened on our family. Everything was fine, but I'll explain that in another video. So last is your visitation. And in the visitation, so usually the workers will print out a calendar for me, or I just know when the date's in. So I just print off a calendar. I didn't design one for you guys because you can just Google you know, November 2017 calendar, and you can print one off from many sites. So I just have 3 days worth here. That's my cleaning schedule at the back. I'll get to that another time. So I just have 3, October, November, December. So basically what I just do with the calendar is I record the visit. So essentially if baby's got a visit Wednesday and Friday for an hour and a half, I write that down. And then I also write who is supervising the visit. Let me turn this a little. I write who's supervising the visit because if baby's sick or, you know, something, it needs to be canceled for some reason, then I have a contact person for that day, because it's not always the same in our agency anyway. It's not always the same person doing the supervising. So I do that. And then I use 3 markers, a green marker. It's like I use highlighters actually, but a green highlighter, a yellow highlighter, and a pink highlighter. So the pink highlighter, I will highlight that visit if mom didn't show up or mom canceled the visit didn't happen for whatever reason. I just highlight that in pink. I want to use like red, yellow, and green for stop, slow, and go, but I just use it in highlighters, which is why I use pink for red. But basically I'll just highlight that visit that day on the calendar if mom didn't show up or the visit was canceled last minute or whatever. Essentially saying that the visit didn't happen. And then I use the yellow highlighter to highlight any issues, like mom was late or mom brought somebody that, you know, shouldn't have been there with her, or what else could be a reason? Baby was really, really upset for the whole visit. She screamed and cried the whole time, wouldn't eat her bottle. So essentially if there was a problem with the visit, I'll have that, highlight that in yellow, so I just have a record of that. And then if the visit went fine, went off without a hitch, I just highlight it in green. So that just helps me just see a track record, and it helps, I mean, the workers all keep track of this, but I can just say to the worker, you know, mom hasn't showed up 5 out of the 8 visits this month. Are we looking at changing her access schedule? Because at the end of the day, if mom's not showing up, she doesn't really deserve to have that many visits. And then, well, it's not that she doesn't deserve it, but it's wasting everybody else's times, the baby's, mine, the workers. So, you know, then they'll look at scaling back the visits. And you can just say, look, this is my calendar here. When you're talking to them at the meeting, just be like, look, this is when she didn't show up. These are the visits there was problems with. And on this calendar, I also will record if I have a driver. I do 90% of the drives, but sometimes things conflict and the kids have to get drivers to their visits. So I will write then who did if there was a driver and who did the drive. And that also helps me to track my expenses for driving. Like I said earlier, our expenses are now kind of included in our per diem for driving. But if you go above and beyond a certain kilometer, then we still get to expense that. So that just helps me to keep track of that. Anyways, I feel like that was really long for something that shouldn't be that long. So I hope it was helpful. Thank you if you watched to the end. If you guys find this helpful and you're going to go download it, then give me a thumbs up so I know. But yeah, oh, and then on the back, I just have leave your mark. And it's just a reminder to me every time I look at this that I'm making a huge impact on these kids' lives, and I'm leaving my mark on them, whether they stay with me forever, wherever they end up going next in their journey. So it's just a little, I love quotes and all of that. So just a little reminder for you guys and for me that you're leaving your mark on these kids and you're making an impact. So when you're drowning in the foster care paperwork, it's just a little positive thing. Anyways, guys, if you like this, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you're new here. Share this with other foster parents if you found it helpful and you think they will find it helpful. I know there's a couple other ones floating around on the internet, but I needed to make one that was pertinent to me and the information I needed to record, and maybe you guys, our agency, your paperwork is similar to mine, and this will be helpful to you. So yeah, you can go, I'm going to link my blog down below, the blog post that this is going to be published on. And I'm going to hopefully publish the video and the blog post at the exact same time. And you can go down there, and if you just send your email, it'll be sent to your email, and you can download it and print it off from there. So anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching today. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.